Hello everyone. So UPSC form is out now, and this time there are certain changes that have been introduced. Now with these changes come a lot of doubts, and in these doubts our students have overwhelmingly reached out for us to help clarify certain things about what to fill, and even smallest of things about what is the proportion of the picture that we should upload, and what services to put in what priority. So in these entire range of doubts, let's look at them systematically. What are the things that we can address right now? What your strategy should be? Because in a sea of misinformation, it should not be that you get drowned in misleading ideas. That should be very, very clear. And again, with Forum's policy, which is that you should always know what you're trying to do, and the right thing should happen at the right time. So keeping all those things in mind, let's address the doubts that we're getting for filling up the form for UPSC 2025. So there are certain things at the OTR stage itself, one-time registration stage itself, that people are getting doubtful about. See, in terms of personal information, it is quite common in our country that some people have their names different in their 10th standard mark sheet as opposed to their Aadhaar cards and different document proofs. This is the type of problem which is resolvable with UPSC, because it is something which is quite common, and that's why in the OTR itself, you've been given the option to disclose whether your name has been changed or not. All right. So don't worry if there's a discrepancy there. Just prioritize your 10th mark sheet name, right? And on basis of that, all the other documents are sort of updated, right? So UPSC considers the name that you have in your 10th mark sheet to be the priority. That is the first thing. The second thing is for your photo and signature. See, name and address, the same thing sort of applies, that you have to prioritize your 10th mark sheet, and then after that there are multiple sort of ways for you to get your information vetted and clarified. Now for the picture. The picture, they've asked for a very clear calculation that we're looking for 3/4 of your face, 3/4 of the space to be covered by your face, right? So instead of worrying about what that calculation is, what sort of picture is or not, I would want us to realize what is it that UPSC is asking for. Think of it this way, that if you have your picture put across a grid of 3:4, right? So this is 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3:4 grid, right? And this is the template of what you have to put your picture in. So this means 12 squares. 3/4 of 12 is going to be 9. What they're asking for is that out of this, if 9 have to be covered by your face, 3 spaces will be open. That means they're asking for your face to look like this, right? That overall, around 3 spaces should be left out empty. The rest of the space your face should cover. They're asking for a zoomed in picture. Instead of this, do not select a picture in which your face is very, very small. Don't leave too much empty space is what they're asking for. All right. They've also said that the picture should be recent, not more than 10 days old. So again, that's not a very difficult thing for you to accomplish. And again, we would advise you to follow the rules and the instructions to the T. Do the best that you can, everything in your power to follow every instruction that has been given to you. If they're asking for a picture which is recent, do not put a picture which is old. Right? They're also saying that you have to maintain the appearance that you're putting in the picture. So don't get designer beards or hairstyles or different things that you cannot maintain till the exam situation, right? If you're wearing glasses, if you're the sort of person that you wear glasses, make sure that in your picture also you're wearing your glasses. All right. So those are the things for photo proportion. Now, another thing that students are concerned about are their documents and the verification and the upload that has been asked for. The documents that they're asking for, let's see the ones which are essential, right? So the ones which have the star next to it, these are the essential documents that have been asked, which is your matriculation school living certificate, right? Proof of date of birth that is required. You must upload it. Graduation certificate, qualifications for your college, right? That has been asked for, and your photo ID proof. If you're asking for age relaxation, that. If you're asking for your domicile to be from the northeast, that has been asked, and you have the option of giving your certificates for achievements also. Again, these are the main certificates that have been asked for. Other than that, the other ones are for your background and relaxations if you're asking for those, right? Proof of identity. A lot of students are concerned about how this thing has been asked, and there's a rush for them to arrange their documents and call home and get them scanned and all that aspect. The reason that this is happening is something that we would want all of us to be happy about. Because the documents will be asked early on, there will be more time for verification, which means that there is more time and space for probity in the organization. Public trust and faith in UPSC is essential. And for that, for you to believe in the exam, it is good that everybody puts their certificates in the earliest, right? So that they're all vetted and verified. What that also means is that you do your due diligence in ensuring that your certificates are in order. Right? It is very, very important that you put all of your certificates, the numbers, the IDs, the codes, everything very, very properly. For this, we are going to hold individual sessions, right, for every group separately, right? But those will be closed sessions so that you feel comfortable explaining your situation, and there is also sufficient time for you to fix any problems and discrepancies if and so they arrive. All right. So again, instead of worrying about this is a problem which is an obstacle, ensure that you're happy about the fact that public trust will be maintained in the process. Okay, so after those things, the issues which are most troubling or most concerning or even exciting for most students, it has to do with what do we fill in hobbies, right? And how do we select our service preferences. All right, now for hobbies, of course, earlier these things were asked in your detailed application form after your prelims, right? One stage after your prelims and one stage after mains, all these things were there. Now, the period between prelims and mains has reduced. Further, they've asked for all this information in the beginning only, which means that you have the opportunity to freeze your hobbies, your information beforehand. This does not mean that there is no change that is allowed, right? UPSC has also said very clearly that you will get the opportunity to modify these things as and when the process moves forward. So they're saying they will provide a window of 15 days from the date of declaration of mains, right, to the candidate who qualifies for interview, right? So if the result is given on, say, X date, so 15 days after that, you're going to get that time. During that time, you will get to change certain parts of your application form. What things you will be getting an option to change or update: your correspondence and permanent postal address, your higher educational qualification, right? So address can be changed because you might move from the place of current residence in the next year, granted. Then your educational qualifications might change because a degree that you're studying under right now, you might complete it. So that's why that has been given. Achievements in different fields, because again, if you're working, if you're studying, you might have more achievements that come up, so you get to change that. Employment details, service experience, right? Details of the service allocated, all these things you will get to change later, right? But you've been asked that your hobbies have to be frozen already, right? Now, how do you pick hobbies and what do you write? For that, what we are going to pick up are different options that have, cropped up for students. And again, the objective of filling your hobbies is to have, a direction to talk about in your interview, right? But again, there are a lot of things that have to be prepared for the interview, and UPSC preparation has to be done according to the successive stages. You must prepare for your prelims first, then you prepare for your mains, and then you are able to prepare for your interview. Right now, there is a very long time for you to move through this process. However, what are the things that we must take into account? Number one, look at the things that they're asking for very, very clearly. They're asking for university, state and national level, right? Which means that they're not asking for school level, all right? You have to prioritize it on the college level, university level, the prizes, medals and scholarships that you've gotten. I'll show you certain examples about what students write and how, but prize, medal and scholarship. Ideally, you would have some prizes, 1 or 2 medals or some sort of scholarship, right? One of each would be great. Then your accomplishments in sports and NCCs, right? Then position of leadership held in school and college, and other extracurricular activities and interests, hobbies. Hobby means it is something that you do in your leisure time, right? Now, what is the sort of thing that people tend to write? We have options from certain different students here, right? Now, all of these students are in the service. I'm not disclosing their details, but again, good rankers, top rankers, right? So let's look at the first option, prize, medals and scholarship. This person has written university gold medal in graduation, right? So they ask for medal. The first thing is medal, gold medal during graduation. Then undergraduate research fellowship for the study on transgender community in Delhi. Now, you could write that you got fellowship for research, right? Then you're also, but you are extending that information to say what the research was on. What this means is that you're giving the commission an opportunity to talk about this topic, right? Talk about the issues that they face, talk about the legislations, the debates that are ongoing, right? And again, specifically in Delhi, and not just throughout the country, not just throughout the world, but specifically in the capital city. This sort of specificity is helpful for you to guide your interview towards a certain direction. See, the idea of the interview is that they could ask you anything under the sun, right? It's a conversation. But if you're leaving hints in your DAF, in your form, right? If in your detailed application form, you're leaving certain details, that means there's an opportunity for the board to expect that you know information, you know data, you have opinions about the matter because you have experience, and there is a high chance that your interview goes in that direction. This is a good thing. This is a good thing because if you write something in your DAF, at least your syllabus gets limited to a certain extent. There's something that you can prepare. If you write very little in this section, then the entire, current affairs opens up, right? Everything under the sun could be a topic of discussion, which is why it is good that you write something specific in your hobbies. So, specificity is a good thing. Second thing, let's look at what this student is saying. NSS volunteer during college, right? Global Youth Coordinator for India-Russia Youth Forum, and performing Kathak is their extracurricular activity. Which means that some people write more in one aspect and less in another, which is perfectly acceptable to the commission. You writing your truth is what is good here, right? Then let's look at another student. This student is a college topper in the history department in terms of prize, medal and scholarship, right? Sports, then UP government scholarship for class 12th. Even though they've asked university, state and national level, if you feel that this portion is going empty, you could add something from the school level, but 12th to college is a good idea because it is somewhere in that vicinity of the time period that you're being asked to, right? Don't write something from class 4, 5, 6, right? Write something in your higher classes. Then sports NCC, rapid chess, right? Now, I would advise that you write that you play rapid chess, right? Interest, that sort of verb is helpful here. Then, creative head of department, academic magazine is their distinction of leadership. Here, see, school is allowed. Then, other extracurricular activities they've written, multilingual music appreciation. Again, as opposed to writing that you like to listen to music, what they're saying is that they appreciate music of multiple languages and not just one. So they're guiding the discussion towards that direction. If you're only listening to classical music, write classical music. If you only listen to Hindi music, Bollywood music, write that. Do not leave the door open for very broad discussions. Then, visiting historical places. They're writing this. See, look at this very carefully. They have a college topper, scholarship, right, in college topper achievement in their academics, and that is being linked to their interest in visiting historical places. It makes for a more coherent type of personality because this person is an academic in history, right? Because it is their subject of graduation, they're optional. They have an interest in visiting such places also. So again, it's more believable, more easy. It's also more easy to prepare. Then, the third student that I have for you is, say, high commendation, second best speaker, Deltec model, United Nations, DTU on issues of persons with disabilities. What are they saying? Model United Nations, they were the best speaker, right? Second best speaker. Then, special mention, third best speaker Indraprastha MUN, IP University, on female genital mutilation. They're adding this topic here so that the discussion moves towards these issues. Then sports NCC, nothing is there, and that is okay. If you're leaving something empty, that is okay. It's not terrible. Also because this particular candidate is able to bulk up their profile by the other positions, by the other achievements that they have. One thing is empty, but the other aspects are also not very sparse. It's not empty, right? So, position of leadership, senior correspondent at the editorial board of Commerce Department of College, committee head of annual MUN, right, Model United Nations, extracurricular activities, copywriter at a feminine hygiene brand, right, reading non-fiction and writing articles on contemporary issues. Now, what I want you to realize and understand here is that these different personalities are very well aligned to the services that these people currently are. This is something that they're doing intentionally. This candidate who has so much experience, right, so much achievement in Model United Nations, right, is the sort of person who's a good speaker. This person is in the foreign services right now, which matches their profile. Again, she's the person is one of those who has put foreign services at one of the priority in their service allocation. And again, we'll get to that. But again, your point is that whatever is your first priority service, that personality should reflect here. Right? For example, this person who's an NSS volunteer, right? Youth coordinator for Russia Youth Forum, right? Transgender community. It is more inclined towards an administrative profile, right? Again, this person, creative head, multilingual music appreciation, they would be more interested towards an academic profile. Somebody who has a lot of achievement in the field of sports, more towards an IPS profile, right? So the sort of person that you are, that should reflect in your hobbies. Now, in order to assist you in these things, what we have provided for you is that you can, I'll include this link in the description, but at Forum's website, you can have a list of common questions that are asked for every hobby, so that you don't just write it blindly. Don't just write cooking, but what happens when you put your hobby to be cooking? Those, guidance materials are here. Now, I give you exposure to this with a caution. Please remember that when you're writing the hobby, you have to remember that we are in our prelims stage right now, right? In the preliminary stage, you are just filling the form. This is step 1. You have to study for prelims. You have to read all these books, do tests, everything, clear prelims, right? Then write your mains, do well there, right? A lot of competition will be eliminated there. Then you're going to move into interview. Interview preparation has to happen in the 3rd stage. Interview preparation is not to be done right now when you're filling the form. Why I say this is, just because you have the avenue, you have the internet, you have the time, space, and alleged importance of you to prepare your hobby, this does not mean that you start doing your interview preparation right now, right? Write your hobbies as your best truth, write what is true, spend some time trying to figure out what is the right articulation for it. But that does not mean that you're going to spend the next week looking at what happens in the interview, right? Give yourself a specific amount of time, 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hours, whatever, right? Figure out your hobbies and then move on with your preparation. Do not waste time doing just this. All right. So fill this up. If you need to discuss with a mentor, discuss with a teacher, do that, right? But freeze it and get it over with. Writing 2 or 3 points in each is good. Distinction, a position of distinction in school and college, you as a head girl, head boy, that is good. You being class representative is okay. You handling some fest in college is a good thing. All those things have to be written here. You also need to know that UPSC is not asking for a lot of proof of these activities. You will be required to prepare this, but the certificates that you have to take in the interview have to do with the ones that were starred in the beginning, right? These are the ones that you have to take, essentially. Your certificates for school, graduation, ID proof, right? And your certificates for your identity and relaxation, if any. Those are the only things that you have to take, all right? Now, we have to get to the meat of the matter, which is how do you put in your service allocation? Let us read very carefully what is given in your notification. They are saying, a candidate shall be required to mandatorily indicate the order of preferences only for those services which are participating in the Civil Services Examination 2025 and for which the candidate is interested to be allocated in the case of eventual selection. Fine. In case of recommendation of candidature by UPSC for service allocation, meaning that in case you clear the exams, then the candidate shall be considered by the government for allocation to one of those services for which the preference has been indicated by the candidate, meaning you will get a job in the service that you are going to fill in this allocation. If you do not apply for one, you will not get it. All right. Then, subject to the fulfillment of other conditions. Other conditions means availability of post, you getting a good rank, the number of people applying for that job, and so on and so forth. In case preference for none of the services is indicated, the candidate will not be considered for service allocation. If you don't fill anything, you won't get anything. A candidate who wishes to be considered for Indian Administrative or Police Service shall be required to indicate as and when asked by the Commission, not now, when you will be asked, and in the manner prescribed by it, that at a later date and when UPSC asks you, what do we have to do? Your cadre preference will be asked in case of appointment. What that very clearly means is that you have to write your hobby right now, you have to do your service allocation right now, but you don't have to put your cadre right now. But this also means that you have to be vigilant about when it will be asked. Usually it is asked after mains. Right? But this year, because the process is changing, we just have to be aware of when it is asked. Right? So according to that, all those things you have to fill. Now, let us see how the process of service allocation takes place. Why this is necessary is that before you just put the service somewhere, right, before you just fill in a number of, order of priority, it is imperative that you understand what is the process of allocation. Some of us will be aware of it completely because it is our later attempt. Some of us will be very, very new to the preparation. Perhaps it is your first attempt. You were not required to know this before, right? This is the time when you have to discover what this is and how it happens. All right. Now, part of the problem here is that because it is a little bit procedural means it has multiple steps, it may require more of your attention as compared to other aspects of filling the form in UPSC. For that, I ask for your complete attention. Your focus in this matter is imperative because if you understand the process only halfway, then you may land up in a service that you did not like and you do not want to do. Right? All of this, right? The option that has been given to you, the time that is available, the opportunity for you to change it is simply so that you are in a service that you want to be in. If someone is going to be happy in foreign services, they may not be happy in police services, whereas for the commission and for us, both these services are equally wonderful, right? But it is a matter of personal preference. Now, how you will make your personal preference translate into the choices that you're putting in service allocation, this is the process that I'm trying to explain to you. All right. So let's see the information that we have. Under this year's notification, see 2025, under this year's notification, there are 23 services that have been given to us. And they have given that there are approximately 979 vacancies which are available, right? These 979 vacancies are distributed among these 23 services, right? Some of these 979 vacancies will be for people with benchmark disability, right? So all these things, the reservations, everything will be distributed in according to the possibility of what service will be, conducive to these disabilities and what are the number of vacancies which are available, right? Now, detailed data in this matter is given to us after the result, right? So right now in January of 2025, what is happening is that the process is still going on, right? The students who appeared for 2024, their exams, they are still going through their interviews, which is why naturally the result is not out. If the result is not out, we do not have data from 2024 right now to figure out how this process works. Because of that, I am using the data from 2023 for us to make sense of the process. All right? In 2023, those slides I've marked in yellow so that you realize that this is not from 2025, but this is the older data that we're using to understand the process. In 2023, they said that they had 1,105 vacancies which were to be filled through the civil services exam. After the result, they gave us this vacancy service-wise breakdown. All right. So what I want you to understand is that we have to fill this. We have to fill essentially this form of what service we are going to get, right? According to the expectation of usually what happens in the number of vacancies. All right. So according to that, we have to prioritize what we will fill and how. All right. Let's see. For service allocation for 2023, what has happened is, let's see, under the unreserved category. Unreserved means general category. I'm taking general to be the basic way of understanding. Of course, this process will change for the other categories accordingly. So, for general category, number of seats that were available for IAS was 73, right? IAS 73, IFS 16, and IPS 80, right? So IAS 73, IPS 80, IFS 16. Roughly this proportion is maintained, right? 70 to 85 seats of IAS will be there, right? 75-80 seats of IPS is usually there. Foreign services is usually much less. All right. Now, I classify these three to be in one group, right? So again, according to the quality of service, what happens, what does not happen, there are different groups that we can think of these services to be, right? Now, say for example, you're the sort of person who wants to get IAS in their service allocation, right? You will put IAS as 1. I'm calling this the general template of filling the service allocation. You may want to put IAS as 1. For you to get IAS as 1, there are only 73 seats. Right? If there are only 73 seats and most of the people, everybody is putting their first priority to be IAS, top 73 students will get their IAS as post, right? This means that under general category, you will want a rank of around 70-75, under 70-75 to ensure that you're going to get IAS, right? So that means this person has put their order of preference 1. If their rank is less than 80, this person will get IAS, right? What happens if you have more of a rank than this, right? These IAS posts have gotten filled up, right? Now you get your second preference. Second preference, the student has put Indian Police Service. Now there are 80 opportunities for you to get IPS, right? So this means your rank can be somewhere between 80 and 150, and then you can get IPS for sure. Right? But that will only happen if you do not get IAS in your service allocation, right? This means priority 1 and 2 is dependent upon number of seats and the rank that you're going to get. Naturally, it is very, very difficult, next to impossible, for you to guess what rank you're going to get this year. We have not even appeared for prelims right now. All right. But on basis of your preparation and also on basis of what you want in your life, you fill up this, right? Now, how these things change is that IFS only has 16 seats, right? If IFS was everyone's first priority, only top 16 candidates would get IFS. If you're the sort of person who wants IFS, right? And again, it's a matter of what is the prioritization, what is that, everyone else around you wants to get, right? What is their priority? According to this, it's a very, very chance-based system, right? So if they've put Indian Foreign Services 3, that means if you're getting your rank above say 150, 160, then you will get IFS, right? If everybody would be following this, but this is not true. What happens actually is that there are different types of people, there are different types of priorities of service, all right? For that, first let's look at the different services that are possible, all right? So, these services are divided into Group A and Group B. First and foremost, you have to understand this. There are all India services and there are Group A services, right? Indian Administrative Service, All India Service. Indian Police Service, All India Service. Meaning you can get your job anywhere in the country, right? And that changes according to your cadre, but again, it's valid for the entire country. Indian Foreign Service, of course, you can go abroad, right? Now, the opportunity to go abroad is very, very lucrative to some people and very, very unappetizing to other people. Meaning, some of us want to live in our country only. It could so happen that you don't want to live outside of the country. It could so happen that you have family responsibilities. It could simply be a matter of choice. Whereas for another person, as I gave you the example in the student with the hobbies of Model United Nations, there are people who have lived their entire life in urban scenarios, who are more geared towards international relations, who do want to live abroad. For them, it is their primary priority, right, to go into that service. Now, usually for most people, these are the best services that they would think of it to be. But again, it changes with everybody, right? Then you have Group A services and Group B services. The Government of India divides services into 4 groups: A, B, C, and D, right? So Group A services go into higher levels of management, right? So think of it as top level of management. They will make policy decisions. They will have impact on a larger scale as compared to the services in Group B, right? Naturally, this also reflects in their emoluments, the salary, the benefits that they are going to get, right? It also reflects in the seniority that is there in the posts, right? So Government of India, salaries, emoluments, everything is on basis of post, right? So in levels of seniority, there is a difference of around 15 years, right? In these 2 services, Group A and Group B, right? If that is the case, normally people will think that everybody only wants Group A and Group B they would not want. But this is not true. See, just because it is a Group B service does not mean that you will not be interested in it, which is why for us to understand every service, it is very, very important, right? And with every service, I will explain what sort of person would enjoy it, what sort of person would not. Then we will look at 3 different profiles about what person would want to fill what service allocation in what way, right? So what we've discussed so far is that service allocation works on basis of priority matrix, the number of, right? Service allocation works on basis of the number of vacancies that are available. It also works on basis of what your priority is, what your rank is, right? So there is a mix and match for this aspect that will go on slowly, right? Now, for that, for you to make an informed choice, it is necessary that we talk about all of these different services one by one, right? Step 1, we need to know what the Indian Administrative Service is, right? Of course, you will start as you know, in a district, right? From there, you will grow, and the terminal thing is that you can become secretary level, right? Now, Indian Administrative Services, most people are aware of, it is usually their first priority, which is a good thing, right? A lot of us are applying for this exam for IAS only, right? So for those people, naturally, general people, your Indian Administrative Services first priority, granted. But again, everybody wants it, so more competition, better rank required. Fine. Foreign Service, again, I've already talked that yes, it has perhaps the highest salary, right? It will give you a lot of international exposure, but you will be traveling a lot, right? You will be outside of the country. Usually it is 3 to 4 years in every different group of countries. You will have to be learning a new language and a foreign language that is necessary. You also have to stay away from home a lot, naturally. But that does not mean that you never come back to India. It also means that you do get the opportunity to serve in the offices of the Ministry of External Affairs within the country as well. So you can have deputation in the country. You can also be heading the passport centers in different places. Now, for the sort of person who wants Indian Foreign Service first, you must write it first, right? There is also another type of person who wants to apply for the Indian Police Service, uniformed service. There is a different charm altogether, right? So for uniformed services, this is the sort of person who would want to be in the police services, right? Again, it's a tough job. It is a very powerful job also. It has a lot of public dealing, naturally, right? Now, other services which are similar to this, right? there is the same profile of person would also perhaps be interested in Indian Defence Account Service, Indian Defence Estate Service, and DANIPS and PONDIPS. This is Delhi, Andaman, Nicobar, Lakshadweep, Daman, Dadar, Nagar Haveli Police Services and Pondicherry Police Services. Think of it this way. What am I trying to explain to you? A person who likes police service would want to be connected to law and order. This sort of person would have the prerequisite physical fitness for this, because again, the medical test for the police service is rigorous. This sort of person would want to live and work in a disciplined environment, right? They would want to work with other uniformed officers. It is because of that reason that I'm saying that this person would also want to put defense, accounts and estates in priority, right? So that you're associated with the defense services, right? You would also, and perhaps you would want to be in Pondicherry Police or DANIPS Police, because even though it is Group B, it is still the type of work that you would want to do, right? Armed Forces Headquarter, also some people would be interested in, but this cantonment is being phased out by the government. So again, the future of the service might not be as strong, right? It might not be as clear for us already. But again, somebody who wants to live that life, they would want to do this. What is it that these services do? Police service, you would be aware of. Defense Account Services means that the defense sort of different the different defense, everything that we have in terms of the estates, in terms of the accounts, in terms of the infrastructure, the assets that the defense sector has, right? This service is required to ensure that the administrative part there, right? So in cantonments, in the defense places, right? So if you're talking about Armed Force Headquarters, if you're talking about say Navy Headquarters, the administrative part there, right? So that has to be done here. If you want to be a police person, right? Think of it this way. When you're doing police services, you can be anywhere in the country. But if you're the sort of person who wants to live and work in Delhi, right? This will give you a very high chance, DANIPS, for you to be able to work and perform in Delhi itself, right? So these people will put these early. Another sort of person could be a person who is more of a urban background. So urban background person does not want to live in a smaller district. This urban background person would want to live in a large city, right? Again, might not be more inclined towards police services. So their order priority matrix comes in here. They would want to put foreign services early, right? They also want to put audit and accounts early. Why? Because what you're doing is that in different ministries, you are auditing the accounts, right? And their processes, right? So that means that you will have more of an exposure to different ministries, right? So this person would be happy with administrative service and account service together, right? Or foreign service and account service together, because most ministry headquarters will be in big cities, and again, you will also have a broader exposure to different types of ministries and work experience. All right. Then this could also happen in civil account service, right? Civil account service means that it will be, say, more towards the accounts of the sort of things that CAG does, right? So you will get more of a Delhi posting, big city posting, right? People who have a background of law, right? They could be interested in corporate law service, right? So their dealings will be with big organizations. So those of you all who have experience in, say, MNCs or are coming with work experience of say, different consultants or big names or anything of that sort, you would also be comfortable in a service like this. Again, this means that it will be large firms. It will also mean that if you have a degree in law, your studies might come in useful here. Of course, they will train you, but it will be helpful. Apart from this, defense, account and estates, again, we have talked about. Then, Indian Information Service and Postal Service, right? Here, this is the sort of service which will give you a desk job. It does not have a lot of public dealing, right? So for that, if you're the sort of person who feels that you do not want to get engrossed in all those things, this could also be helpful for you. Post and telecom finance is also in that similar group. But please remember, postal service can be in small cities as well. Post has all India sort of presence, right? After that, railway protection and railway management service. Things here is that, see, for railways, it is a technical sort of service which is there, right? There has been changes in the services that are available and the way that they are allocated. Railway services, there have been in the past, there have been recruitments that have happened through engineering services, and these services have been moved towards civil services also. So there is an exchange that keeps on happening here. Within it, there are also subcategories in which you can end up anywhere. Now, if you're an engineer who would also want to be in railway services, because for engineering services, railways is again a very, very good opportunity. So for those people, this will be more attractive. What that means is that if in the beginning you're filling 1, 2, 3, administrative, police and foreign, and you want to go work in railway, you might put railway afterwards, right? Then the next services that are available to you are revenue services, customs and income tax. Now, there is a slight distinction between them, but what you have to essentially do is that customs, you will be involved with Customs Act. Income tax, you will have to learn Income Tax Act. What this means is that as an officer of revenue services, you will be dealing with how Indian revenue is extracted. You will be dealing with high net worth individuals or, transactions. That is what you'll be working towards. It is a faceless service, which means that the earlier fear of a lot of corruption going on in these services has reduced significantly, which is a good thing for people with integrity and the intention to serve, and a repulsive thing for people who wanted to get into it for the money and for the corruption, which means that these are services which are becoming more attractive now, which is why for a lot of our good students, what happens is the priority order goes administrative, police, foreign, and then they'll come into revenue service, right? So again, revenue service, because you've been asked to deal with such high value, because again, as an class A officer, naturally you will only be dealing with major transactions, right? For the other things, there'll be group B people who will be doing these transactions. So this also means that you'll be in big cities, right? Usually the state capitals. That's why this can also come into your higher priority. Some people also have a very high preference for Indian trade services. Why Indian trade services? Because this has to do with trade of India as a whole, as the country, right? Which means that you will have dealings with WTO, you will have dealings with high institutions. For people who would want this sort of thing, imagine foreign service, administrative, police, and they would want to jump into trade service also. The sort of person who wants to have exposure, international dealing, right? Large institutions, multilateral institutions, for them, foreign service and trade service, if you can't get foreign service, trade service could also be a good stand-in, right? Armed Forces Headquarter and DANIPS and all, I have explained with police. All right. Now, this is a very short summary of what happens in these different services, right? Now, I will give you samples of what students fill so that you're able to comprehend how this process works. All right. Let's see. This one only. This is the first student. I'll call them Asiatic lion because we can't give them, we can't use their real name. But say I'm calling them lion because it is the king of the jungle. This is the sort of profile that most often comes up, right? That people who are more inclined towards IAS. Their preference is number 1, Indian Administrative Service, right? Number 2, they've said Indian Police Service. Number 3, they've said Indian Foreign Service. What this means is that their preference, their order is matching what most people would expect. So it's a general profile. This is not screaming something extraordinary to me, right? This is not a bad thing, but this simply means that this person wants to do IAS, the most coveted service, which is a normal thing. It is not an outlier. Number 4 that they've put is Indian Revenue Service. I told you revenue, customs and revenue income. I told you that they will have the opportunity for faceless transactions. They will live in, capital cities, and they will have decent exposure, right? Number 6, they're saying civil accounts, audit and account services, right? Which means again, they want to have interministerial exposure, which matches what this person would want as an IAS officer also. Your interest in the IAS job is because you can work with different ministries, you can work in different cities, right? Similarly, audit accounts will give you that exposure. Number 7, they're saying DANIX, right? This is the Delhi, Andaman Nicobar, Lakshadweep, Daman Diu, Dadar Nagar Haveli Civil Service, meaning that again you want to be in civil service and you're happy to do it in Delhi also, right? So it all translates into a very direct inclination that yes, this person is very, very interested in Indian administrative work, and be it IAS, be it civil accounts, be it civil service for DANIX, right? Then number 8, they're saying railway management service, right? Which means perhaps this person is an engineer, would want to work in this area, or they again want to have an all India sort of work experience in railway, because railway has all India exposure. Then number 9, trade service, which translates into their priority of foreign service also, that is also okay if they have to deal with large trade groups. Number 10, they're saying, I'll erase this so that we are able to see. Number 10, they're saying corporate law service, right? Number 11, information service. Number 12, defense estate, right? That again, even if you have to go to city center, regional centers, you're happy to work there, right? Then 13, they've said civil account service. 14, they've said defense account, meaning that this person does not like accounts that much, right? Not very fond of economics and will go to accounts if it so comes to that, right? 13 and 14 is this. But again, priority is among the services of Group A only, right? Number 15, they've asked for Railway Protection Force, right? Number 16, they've asked for Postal Service. 17, Telecom Service, which is fairly standard. 18, they're saying DANIPS, which is Delhi Andaman Police Service. Then they're saying 19, Pondicherry Police Service, Civil Service, and then Pondicherry Police Service, which means perhaps this student is not from the south, not from Pondicherry, does not want to go there, right? And not as very fond of being a police officer in a small territory, meaning they do want all India sort of exposure, whatever job they're getting. What do you understand here? That this service allocation reflects, this service preference reflects the personality of the student and what they're looking for. I'll give you another example of a different student who was very, very interested in a different service. This student has put, see, foreign service as their first preference, right? They've put administrative service as the second preference, which means they are very, very interested in foreign service. They want to fight for it. This makes a very clear expression to the board that yes, this is the service that you are going for, and your personality will be assessed specifically for police service, for foreign service. What that means is, if you possess the sort of personality which is conducive for foreign services, the board will give you more marks, good marks, so that you land in that service. Why? Because the objective of doing all this is that we are able to match a person's caliber and their interest to a service in which their profile matches, right? So that's why your indication is very clear. Number 3 for this student is revenue service, right? Number 4 is audit and account service. I told you that there are certain people who don't want to go in small cities. They will be good in big cities only. They want to deal with big shots. They want to deal with major issues, right? And not have too much public dealing. This is visible in their profile here, right? Number 5 for the student is revenue service customs. Number 6 is police service, which means that on basis of the number of vacancies that are there, it is a very low chance that this person will get IPS after they have filled in audit and revenue, after they filled in foreign, right? Which means that effectively you can guide, you can see from this that this person does not want to go in police services. That also shows that, see, last 2 services are DANIPS and PONDIPS, police services in Delhi, Andaman, all these union territories, and Pondicherry last. All right. So essentially you organize this on basis of what you're looking for. All right. Now, the thing is that you get your blank form, right? And you need to fill in what service you want to fill in accordingly, right? Now, obsessing about this also cannot get you anywhere right now. Why? Because if you obsess about this too much, right, you might have very high hopes about what you're going to do in the exam, right? And then start dreaming about interview and fail to clear prelims itself, right? Your time has to be allocated for your prelims, preparation. UPSC has given you a lot of time to fill this. Do your best, figure it out. If everything is clear for you, you do that. If you have a doubt, please come and contact one of your teachers and mentors. Forum gives you plenty of opportunity for that. Do that and sort out what it is that you want to do, right? Under no circumstance is it that you can sort of, force your entry into a service by playing games. No, there are a lot of factors at play. You are yet to get the marks that you're going to get. You will get a chance to change this in the future after your marks are done, after your mains is done. All right. Depending upon your performance, you may be able to move it further. But again, all this information is going into the hands of the commission already. What they're going to do with it, right? How it translates, the future is yet to unfold. We cannot predict those aspects. All right. So filling the form is a good sort of initiative for us to take. And again, it's necessary also, but that does not mean that you spend the entire month doing that only, right? Give yourself a reasonable period of time between 1 to 3 days, nothing more than that. All right. That is what we have to do for our service allocation process. Now, one very last thing that I want to discuss is that in this form, they've given us 23 services. Let's check if you're missing out on something. Administrative service, police service, foreign service, audit and accounts, civil account, corporate law, defense account, defense estates. All this we've discussed. Information post and telecom. What has happened here is that railway management service has been divided into 4 clearly already. Railway management service, traffic, railway management system, personnel, railway management account, railway protection force. Now, what we have to discuss in detail here is that if you want to get, if you're the police service type, so then you go into Indian Railway Protection Service. This will be a higher priority for you. If you're the sort of person who was more interested towards revenue service, you will take Railway Management Service account, right? If you want to have a lot of public dealing, you may want to pick Railway Management Personnel. If you're a technical sort of person, you might want to go into traffic. This is the reason why the number of services has increased. And again, you prioritize them according to your interest. The rest of it is the same as we have discussed so far. All right. Now, what you have to understand is that your order of preference, right? The number of vacancies that are going to be there, that will be yet to be disclosed. Plus, the way that it will be allocated for people who are not from general category. All of these calculations are going to get more complicated. Say, for example, you are from ST, right? And you want IFS, right? ST can get IFS even, and see, there are only 2 seats, right? But that means that for those 2 people, the top 2 rankers who want IFS are going to get IFS within that system, right? How that unfolds is going to happen in the future. You can predict this on basis of older sort of vacancies. But see, the number is also very different. 2023, I'm working on a number of 1,105 vacancies, whereas this year we just have 979, which means that roughly 35-40 services, so already seats have been missed, right? So because of that, the calculation is going to change. You will know it in the future, but please just fill the form, right? Try to ask your doubts from people who are able to give you clear guidance, right? And again, try not to overcomplicate all these things. Do not spend too much time worrying about your hobbies and preparing for interview already. Please remember, the right thing has to happen at the right time. Right now, what you're required to do is fill the form, focus on your prelims, ensure that your NCRTs you've covered well, ensure that your paper strategy is good, and things will and for sure unfold in your favor, right? All of these things will unfold in your favor. In the end, I'll tell you that all of these screenshots that I've put in, the DAFs and the hobbies, everything, all these are students of ours who are in service already, right? So this is what it looks like. People write hobbies in short language. People write hobbies with reasonable points, number of points. It does vary with everybody. And again, these are real service allocation forms that we have. All right. There will be more sessions for specific categories for you to be able to discuss your issues for certificates, for EWS, for SC, ST, all those things. Till the time that the form is submitted, we are open for all these discussions. All right. In terms of our general guidance, this is what we can offer you for now. All right. Thank you.